Hello, my name is Kurt Brown, also known as Saint Rambone. I have a website titled Mobile Audit Club. I was forcibly injected and tortured by the current regime in power in 2001. This was before 9/11. I was not the only veteran who was forcibly injected and tortured. I was tortured because of the information I had regarding money laundering and murder at the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in California, where I was a bank examiner for the federal government in 99 and 2000. A regional director had been killed in his office and labeled suicide in San Francisco in the early 90s. Per my observation, money laundering was occurring. They were giving bank charters to people who had casino connections. What they're doing is they're skimming millions, if not billions of dollars, opening their own banks that are FDIC insured in California and other states most likely now. And what they do is they launder that money. Now, I was listening to what you were saying. I've been injected with unknown chemicals. They made me sign documents. They basically tortured me and pushed me from government for this. An attempt was made on my life, and no federal agencies responded. To think that you are sending those people into the government is a joke. We do not have a democracy, and I do not believe we ever have. The people are appointed. The only reason it's orderly change is because it's a dictatorship, and they rotate people in and out. That shell game they play with the Democrat-Republican is a joke. They do not represent me or my people. Most of my people in my native state, many of them cannot vote. And that's the way they want it. They don't want us to be able to vote. And also, the powers that are given to them, they already had. I was forcibly injected in 2001 by the federal government. Now, they also passed a law in early 2001 to allow forced injections in Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada. All somebody has to say is you're crazy. Now, some very powerful people live there who have some very low crime. They're very low, below in their bellies. They're high crime syndicate officials, and when billions of dollars are involved. I believe we're in a technological war. Collusion has made it where all audits and all investigations are unreliable and irrelevant. The next election, I've heard people saying they're going to put us into martial law or something. Most likely. I hope to be out of the United States at that time, and at least for the election. I do not want to be here for it because I believe we will have trouble. You cannot change this. If the only way we could get the humane human beings could have a government again in any nation in the world would be through conflict, and it would be a highly technological conflict. You cannot believe what you see with technology. Your eyes can be deceived. I heard somebody say we have a fascist government. Well, that goes without saying. Also, people say, where can you go to find a free nation? I've researched a little bit to see where I could find a nation that did not have casinos, because I have a distaste for casinos like you would not believe. I will not even enter them now. After I found out what they do with the money laundering and murder, I see them as filth. They ruin the positive capitalistic system. They are negative capitalists, just like those drug dealers who are part of the federal agencies under the National Treasury Employees Union syndicates. We do not need a union in the federal government, but they're there because it aids inclusion. Of course, they're not the only collusion structure in the government. We know that. We do not even have control of the government, and we don't know who controls it. The free nations I know of that do not have casinos are Norway and Brazil. Now, I think Norway would be an excellent country to live in, but I don't think they allow anyone in. It's a very small nation. I can't blame them. Then you got Brazil. Now, that is a questionable nation. I know that the Brazilian real, their currency, has been appreciating in value while the dollar has been dropping. We have a hole in our bucket in the United States. The government pushes honest people out of the way. This is a technological war. We need to examine all those people that are working in those agencies very closely. And I'm talking about with technology. I'm not talking about pulling up a file, seeing where they're born. I'm talking about getting down to nuts and bolts of what we're dealing with. I encourage people not to trust the United States government, to have their children away from all government entities and hospitals, not to trust their drugs, because the drugs are approved by attorneys and not doctors. And the reason I encourage people not to have their children in hospitals is because I believe they are caste setting. We are nothing to them, therefore they or it is nothing to us. Never serve the government, never trust the government, do not expect any change without a very strong technological conflict with a ruling regime that is an international regime.